Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, my beautiful hot messes. My name is Mistress Lavender, and today I'll be reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F by Mark Manson, Chapter 6. You're wrong about everything, but so am I. I'm on page 115. And if you don't know what even I'm talking about, you might as well click the first video. But if you do, are you ready? 500 years ago, cartographers believed that California was an island. Doctors believed that slicing a person's arm open or causing bleeding everywhere could cure a disease. Scientists believed that fire was made out of something called phlogiston. Women believed that rubbing dog urine on their face had anti aging benefits. Astronomers believed that the sun revolved around the earth. When I was a little boy, I used to think mediocre was a kind of vegetable that I didn't want to eat. I thought my brother had found a secret passageway in my grandmother's house because he could get outside without having to leave the bathroom. Spoiler alert, there was a window. I also thought that when my friend and family visited Washington, D.C., they had traveled somehow back in the future, back in time to when the dinosaurs lived. Because after all, BC was a long time ago. As a teenager, I told everybody that I didn't care about anything, when the truth was I cared about way too much. Other people ruled my world without even knowing it. I thought happiness was a destiny and not a choice. I thought love was something that just happened, not something that you worked for. I thought being cool had to be practiced and learned from others rather than invented for oneself. When I was with my first girlfriend, I thought we would be together forever. And then when the relationship ended, I thought I'd never feel the same about a woman again. And then when I felt the same way about a woman again, I thought that love sometimes just wasn't enough. And then I realized that each individual gets to decide what is enough, and that love can be whatever we let it to be. Every step of the way, I was wrong. What is this? Oh, just hair. Every step of the way, I was wrong about everything. Throughout my life, I had been flat out wrong about myself, others, society, culture, the world, the universe, everything. And I hope that I will continue to be ah and I hope that will be what? And I hope that will continue to be the case for the rest of my life. Just a present just as present Mark can look back at past Mark's every flaw and mistake, one day future Mark will look back on present Mark's assumptions, including the context of this book, and notice similar flaws. And that will be a good thing because that means I have grown. There's a famous Michael Jordan quote about him failing over and over and over again, and that's why he's succeeded. Well, I'm always wrong about everything over and over again, and that's why my life improves. Growth is an endless, iterative process. When we learn something new, we don't go from wrong to right. Rather, we go from wrong to slightly less wrong. And when we learn something additional, we go from slightly less wrong to slightly less wrong than that, and then to even less wrong than on that, and so on. We are always in the process of approaching truth and perfection without actually ever reaching truth or perfection. We shouldn't seek to find the ultimate right answer for ourselves, but rather we should seek to chip away at the ways that we're wrong today so that we can be a little less wrong tomorrow. When viewed from this perspective, personal growth can actually be quite scientific. Our values are our hypothesis. This behavior is good and important. The other behavior is not. Our actions are the experiments. The resulting emotions and thought patterns are our data. There is no correct dogma or perfect ideology. There is only what you experience. There's only what you experience has shown you to be right for you. And even then, that experience is probably somewhat wrong too. And because you and I and everybody else all have differing needs and personal histories, and life circumstances, we will all inevitably come to differing correct answers about what our life means and how they should be lived. Living in obscure places. My correct answer involves traveling alone for years on end, living in obscure places, and laughing at my own farts. Or at least that was the correct answer up until recently. That answer will change and evolve because I change and evolve. And as I grow older and more experienced, I chip away how wrong I was, becoming less and less wrong every day. Many people become so obsessed with being right about their lives that they never end up actually living it. Ooh. A certain woman is single and lonely and wants a partner, but she never gets out of the house or does anything about it. Ooh. A certain man works his A off and believes he deserves a promotion, but he never explicitly says that to his boss. Ooh. They're told that they're afraid of failure, of rejection, or of someone saying no. But that's not it. Sure, rejection hurts, failure sucks, but there are particular certainties that we hold on to. Certainties that we're afraid to let go or question. Values that have been given our lives meanings over the years. That woman doesn't get out there and date because she would be forced to confront her beliefs of her own desirability. That man doesn't ask for the promotion because he would have to confront his beliefs about what his skills are actually worth. It's easier to sit in a painful certainty that nobody would find you attractive, that nobody appreciates your talents, than to actually test those beliefs and find out for sure. Beliefs of this sort, that I'm not attractive enough, so why bother? Or my boss is an a hole, so why bother? Are designed to give us moderate comfort now by moderating greater happiness and success later on. They're terrible long term strategies, yet we cling on to them because we assume we're right, because we assume we already know what's supposed to happen. In other words, we assume we know everything, we know how the story ends. Certainty is the enemy of growth, period. Nothing is for certain until it has already happened. And then, and even then, it's still debatable. That's why accepting the inevitable imperfections of our values is necessary for growth to take place. Instead of thriving for certainty, we should be in constant search of doubt. Doubt our own beliefs, doubt our own feelings, doubt about what the future may hold for us unless we get out there and create it for ourselves. Instead of looking to be right all the time, we should be looking for how we're wrong all the time because we are. Being wrong opens up to the possibility of change. Being wrong brings the opportunity for growth. It means not cutting your arm open to cure a cold or splashing dog piss on your face to look young again. It means not thinking mediocre is a vegetable and not being afraid to care about things. Because here's something that's weird but true. We don't actually know what a positive or negative experience is. Some of the most difficult and stressful moments of our lives also end up being the most formative and motivating. Some of the best and most gratifying experiences of our lives are the most distracting and demotivating. Don't trust your conception of positive and negative experiences. All that we know for certain is what hurts is the moment and what doesn't, and that's not worth much. Just as we look back in horror at the lives of people 500 years ago, I imagine people 500 years from now will laugh at us and our certainties today. They will laugh at how we let our money and jobs define our lives. They will laugh at how we are afraid to show appreciation for those who matter to us most, yet heaped praise on public figures who didn't deserve anything. They will laugh at our rituals and superstitions, our worries and our wars. They will gawk at our cruelty. They will study our art and argue over our history. They will understand truths about us of which none of us are aware yet. And they too will be wrong, just less wrong than we are. Articu- Artifacts of our own beliefs. Try this. Take a random person and put them in a room with buttons to push. Then tell them if they do something specific, some undefined something that they have to figure out, a light will flash on indicating that they've won a point. Then tell them to see how many points they can earn within a 30-minute period. When psychiatrists have done this, what happens is what you might expect. People sit down and start mashing buttons at random until eventually the light comes on to tell them they got to a point. Logically, they then try repeating whatever they were doing to get more points, except now the light's not coming on. So they start experimenting with more complicated sequences. Press this button 3 times and this once, and then wait 5 seconds, and then ding, another point. But eventually that stops working. Perhaps it doesn't have to do with buttons at all, they think. Perhaps it has something to do with how I'm sitting or what I'm touching. Maybe it has to do something with my feet. Ding, another point. Yes, maybe my feet, and then I press another button. Ding. Generally, within 10 to 15 minutes, each person has figured out the specific sequence of behaviors required to net more points. It usually is something weird like standing on one foot or mesmerizing a long sequence of buttons. pressed in a specific amount of time while facing a certain distraction. But here's the funny part. The points really are random. There's no sequence, there's no pattern. Just a light that keeps coming on with a ding. And people doing cartwheels thinking that they're doing something, what they're doing is giving them points. Sadism aside, the point of the experience is to show how quickly the human mind is capable of coming up with or believing in a bunch of BS that isn't real. And it turns out we're really good at it. Each person leaves the room convinced that he or she nailed the experiment and won the game. They all believe they discovered the perfect sequence of numbers that earned them their points, but the methods they come up with are unique as the individuals themselves. One man came up with a long sequence of pushing buttons that made no sense to anyone but himself. One girl came in to believe that she had to tap the ceiling a certain number of times to get points. When she left the room, she was exhausted from jumping up and down. Our brains are our brains are our brain Our brains are meaning machines. What we understand as meaning is generated by the associations our brains make between two or more experiences. We press a button, then we see a light go on. We assume the button caused the light to go on. This, at its core, is the basis of the meaning. Button, light, light, button. We see a chair, we note that it's gray. Our brain then draws the association between the color gray and the object chair, and the form's meaning the chair is gray. Our minds are constantly worrying, generating more and more associations to help us understand and control the environment around us. Everything about our experiences, both external and internal, generates new associations and connections with our minds. Everything from the words on this page to the grammatical concepts you use to decipher them, to the dirty thoughts in your mind that wanders into when my writing becomes boring and repetitive, each of these thoughts, impulses, and perceptions is composed of thousands upon thousands of neural connections, firing in conjunction, aligning your mind in a base of knowledge and understanding. But there are two problems. First, the brain is imperfect. We mistake we mistake things we see and hear. We forget things or misinterpret events quite easily. Second, once we create meaning for ourselves, our brains are designed to hold on to that meaning. We are biased towards the meaning our brain was made or has made, and we don't want to let go of it. Even if we see evidence that contradicts the meaning we create, we often ignore it and keep on believing anyways. The comedian Emo Phillips once said, I used to think the human brain was the most wonderful organ in my body. Then I realized who was telling me this. The unfortunate fact is most of what we come to know and believe is the product of the innate inaccuracies and biases present in our brains. Many or even most of our values are products of events that are not representative of the world at large or are the result of a totally misconceived past. The result of all this, most of our beliefs are wrong, or to be more exact, all beliefs are wrong. Some of just some are just less wrong than others. The human mind is a jumble of inaccuracy, and while this may make you uncomfortable, it's an incredibly important concept to accept, and we'll see. The dangers of pure certainty. Erin sits across from me at a sushi restaurant and tries to explain why she doesn't believe in death. It's been almost 3 hours, and she's eaten exactly four cucumber rolls and drunk an entire bottle of sake by herself. In fact, she's about halfway through bottle number two now. It's 4 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. I didn't invite her here. She found out where I was via the internet and flew out to come find me. Again, she's done this before. You see, Erin is convinced that she can cure death, but she's also convinced that she needs my help to do it, but not my help in like a business sense. If she just needs some PR advice or something, that would be one thing. No, it's more than that. She needs me to be her boyfriend. Why? After 3 hours of questioning and a bottle and a half of sake, it still isn't clear. My fiance was with us in the restaurant, by the way. Aaron thought it important that she be included in the discussion. Aaron wanted Aaron wanted her to know that she was willing to share me and that my girlfriend, now wife, shouldn't feel threatened by her. I met Aaron at a self-help seminar in 2008. She seemed like a really nice person. A little bit on the woohoo, new Aggie side of things, but she was a lawyer and had gone to an Ivy League school and was clearly smart. And she laughed at my jokes and thought it was cute. So, of course, knowing me, I slept with her. A month later, she invited me to uproot across the country and move in with her. This struck me as sort of a red flag, and so I tried to break things off with her. She responded by saying that she would kill herself if I refused to be with her. Okay, so make that two red flags. I promptly blocked her from my email and all of my devices. This would slow her down but not stop her. Years before I met Erin had gotten into a car accident and nearly died. Actually, she had medically died for a few months. All brain activity had stopped, but she somehow miraculously been revived. When she came back, she claimed everything had changed. She became a very spiritual person. She became interested in and started believing in energy healings and angels and universal conscious and tarot cards. She also believed that she had become a healer and an empath and that she could see the future. And for whatever reason, upon meeting me, she decided she and I were destined to save the world together, to cure death, as she put it. After I blocked her, she began to create new email addresses, sometimes sending me as many as dozens of angry emails in a single day. She created fake Facebook and Twitter accounts that she used to harass me as well as people close to me. She created a website identical to mine and wrote dozens of articles claiming that I was her ex boyfriend and that I had lied to her and cheated on her, that I had promised to marry her, and that she and I belonged together. When I contacted her to take the site down, she said that she would take it down only if I flew to California to be with her. This was her idea of a compromise. And through all of this, her justification was the same. I was destined to be with her, that God had preordained it, that she literally woke up in the middle of the night to the voice of angels condemning that our special relationship was to be the harboring of a new age of permanent place on earth. Yes, she really told me this. By the time we're all sitting in the sushi restaurant together, there had been thousands of emails where I responded and didn't respond, replied respectfully or replied angrily. Nothing ever changed. Her mind never changed. Her beliefs never budged. This had gone on for 7 years and counting. And so it was in that small sushi restaurant with Erin guzzling sake and babbling for hours about how she cured her cat's kidney stones with energy tapping that something occurred to me. Erin is a self improvement junkie. She spends tens of thousands of dollars on books and seminars and courses. And the craziest part of all this is that Erin embodies all the lessons she learned to a T. She has a dream, she stays persistent with it, she visualizes and takes action and weathers the rejections and failures and gets up and tries again. She's relentlessly positive. She thinks pretty damn highly of herself. I mean, she claims to heal cats the same way Jesus healed Lazarus. Come the F on. And yet her values are so F that none of this matters. The fact that she does everything right doesn't make her right. Ooh. There is a certainty in her that refuses to relinquish itself. She had even told me this in so many words that she knows her fixation is completely irrational and unhealthy and is making both her and me unhappy. But for some reason, it feels so right to her, she can't ignore it and she can't stop. In the mid 1990s, psychologist Roy Budemesser began researching the concept of evil. Basically, he looked at people who do bad things and why they do them. At the time, it was assumed that people did bad things because they felt horrible about themselves. That is, they had low self esteem. One of Meister's first surprising finding was that this was not often true. In fact, it was usually the opposite. Some of the worst criminals felt pretty damn good about themselves. And it was this feeling about themselves in spite of the reality around them that gave them the sense of justification for hurting and disrespecting others. For individuals to feel justified in doing horrible things to others, they must feel an unwavering certainty in their own righteousness, in their own beliefs and deservedness. Racists do racist things because they're certain about their genetic superiority. Religious fanatics blow themselves up and murder dozens of people because they're certain of their place in heaven as matriarchs. Men rape and abuse women out of certainty that they're entitled to women's bodies. Evil people never believe they are evil, rather, they believe that everyone else is evil. In controversial experiments, now simply known as the Stanford Prison experiment organized by the psychologist Philip Zimbarbo, researchers, girl, researchers told normal people that they were to punish other volunteers for breaking various rules, and punish them they did, sometimes escalating the punishment to the point of physical abuse. Almost none of the punishers objected or asked for an explanation. On the contrary, many of them seemed to relish the certainty of moral righteousness bestowed upon them by the experiments. The problem here is that not only is certainty unattainable, but the pursuit of certainty often breeds more and more insecurity. Many people have an unshakable certainty in their ability at their job or in the amount of salary they should be making. Okay, I'm messing up a lot, so I'm gonna stop there. I'm on page 128 in chapter 6. You're wrong about everything, but so am I. I'll be starting at, but that certainty makes them feel worse, not better. But thank you so much for sticking with me. And if you made it here so far, you might as well like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know what book I should read next. And also comment, did you get this book? Have you read it before? What did you gain from this book? And yeah, I need to drink some water. But I hope you have a great day. Know that today's amazing. And I'm happy you're with me. Bye. I'll see you next video.